Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, November 28th, all the way through to Sunday, November 24th of 2019. And this week we have some major shifts in the energy. We're going to have Mars shifting out of Libra, where it doesn't do quite so well, into one of its home signs in the sign of Scorpio, where it's going to be functioning a lot more precisely and passionately and effectively for the next actually couple of months. It's going to be in the sign of Scorpio all the way through until January 4th, I believe. So that's going to give us quite some time to work with this super focused, supercharged, super intensified energy that allows us to take action on our deepest and truest desires very effectively. It enhances the energy of Mars in general, where people are just more effective in taking action and getting things done. And when they do take action, they're taking action very deliberately, and they're taking action on things that are true to themselves. This energy is also a supercharged, fired up energy when it comes to things like sexual expression, because Mars rules physical expression of sexuality, and Scorpio also has that association. And so, if you've been lacking in that department, this could ignite your passions a little bit more so in relationship, starting this week and really lasting for several weeks all the way through to the start of January. The other thing that's going to be happening is that Mercury will be stationing direct finally. This has been a relatively mild Mercury retrograde in terms of the energy, just because of the aspects Mercury has been making throughout this retrograde period. They've been predominantly positive. However, it's still a bit of a stall, a bit of a period of reflection and kind of having to go back and revise and redo things, all of that Mercury retrograde stuff that we always talk about. It's a more internalized energy that's really important for introspection and just taking stock of things in the area of life that's being impacted by the Mercury retrograde. And so it is a period of rest, and it is a period that's needed. And it's an important time to go back and tie up loose ends and revisit things that need to be revisited. But it's also a time where we're not really moving forward in the way that, we might want to, especially for people who are a little bit more, cardinal in their energy and their planetary placements, or people who really, have things that they want to move forward with, that they have on their agenda that they've been waiting for because of this Mercury retrograde energy. Now's the time on the 20th where Mercury's going to station, and it's going to finally be moving direct. And so that's going to be a positive energy. It's going to be a shift in the energy. And then we have on Friday, the sun actually shifting out of the sign of Scorpio and into the sign of Sagittarius. And so to all of my Sagittarius sun sign people, happy birthday. I do have a 2-hour sun sign solar return forecast for your year ahead that's available for you to download at the link below. There's additional information, PDF files that give specific indicators for specific birthdays. It's very detailed. And so you can find that link down in the description. And if you're a Capricorn sun sign, your sun sign solar return forecast is available for pre-order. It'll be released on December 1st, and you can get 25% off if you order now. And for those Sagittarius sun sign people, this is your time to shine. This is your solar rebirth, right? This is where you have this sort of new moon energy. I call it a new moon energy, but it's not a moon energy. Obviously, it's a solar energy, but it's like a renewal of a new cycle for you. And so it's kind of like your own personal new year. And if you have your birthday this week, we'll get into this in the forecast, but you got something special going on because into the weekend, we have a really positive alignment and a very, very rare alignment with both Venus and Jupiter coming into an exact conjunction in alignment with the galactic center. And so Venus and Jupiter, they come into alignment once every, year or so, or a couple of years really, with the Venus cycles and the Jupiter cycles, but they don't usually come into that conjunction in alignment with the galactic center. That will only happen once in a very, very rare occasion. And so, this is an important event. And So when we talk about the galactic center, what we're talking about is very literally the center of our galaxy. There's a lot of electromagnetic static and noise and energy that's emanated from this central point in our galaxy. And, some scientists believe it's a black hole. There are a lot of different theories about, what it is and how that energy operates astronomically. But astrologically, this is a point that has to do with our origins, right? It's where we came from. Usually, even outside of the sign of Sagittarius, it has this association, because it does shift over time. It has this association with like God or divinity or something higher and bigger than us. It's been associated with enhanced sensitivities and enhanced awareness, elevated consciousness, where we become more aware of this reality and our place in it. And it can lead to things like major spiritual breakthroughs and major spiritual awakenings that almost require that we adhere to some sort of philosophical, spiritual, or religious doctrine or discipline in order to make sense of our experience, because it can be overpowering and overwhelming. So a lot of times when people have these big awakenings in their lives, not all the time, there are other alignments that can cause this, but sometimes when that happens, it's because the galactic center is activated in some way in their chart, and especially if you have planets near the galactic center. Like if you were born in 1987, 88, 89, you might actually have your Saturn or your Uranus, and maybe a little bit earlier than that, you'd have your Neptune on the galactic center. That whole generation, which includes myself, has outer planet energy very strong at the galactic center. And so, as a sort of mini generation, we're going to be activated by this transit. And so you might see in the news or in the media, people within the age group, like early 30s, late 20s to early 30s, will be more in the news, will be activated in some way, or will have some sort of beneficial energy come to them or come through them over the course of the next couple of weeks. This entire week, by the way, and into next week, Jupiter's transiting the galactic center. It's not just a 1 degree point in the sky. It actually expands beyond that, and the energy of the galactic center, because it's so strong, expands beyond that. And what they found is that when there are certain alignments with the galactic center and the Earth, people's psychic activity or psychic abilities becomes enhanced. And that's because of the electromagnetic frequencies that are emanated from this point in space. And so certain alignments either cause that static to kind of be subdued, because it can be a lot of chaos and it can be a lot to sort of sort through on an energetic and sort of mental level. Or it's because that energy is becoming strengthened. It's kind of hard to say what that entails or how that would work. Is it passing through because when the Earth is blocking it, in terms of the alignment, so if we're facing the exact opposite, if we're sitting on the Earth and the galactic center is like straight through the Earth on the other side, if you were to stick a pole through it, it would like touch the galactic center, right? If you had a super, super long, excessively long pole. So if we're aligned in that way at that certain time of day, which happens once per day, it's been shown through, through what do they call that type of psychology, like parapsychological research, that psychic activity is actually enhanced during that time. People have more clarity of insight when there's a specific alignment where essentially the galactic center is hitting the Earth and like shooting through the other side, or the position of the Earth is blocking out that noise. Again, it's hard to say which is which. It could be a combination of both. It's blocking out the noise and then it's passing through the Earth in a way that also enhances our awareness. But in either case, it increases our sensitivities. And so when you have planets at this point, it's a very sensitive spot in the zodiac, and it's a spot where things are enhanced and where you can get so much information coming to you sort of etherically and energetically that it can be overwhelming and even to the point of being disturbing sometimes. But in this case, this is going to be a positive expression because we have the two benefic planets. And anytime Jupiter and Venus come into a conjunction, it brings us some sort of gift, especially for those who have very strong alignments. And this gift, I would say, based on this alignment, would be a more spiritual gift, a more internal sort of enhancement where, yes, there can be external manifestations and external gifts that come through this alignment, but this is also the gifts that we are presented with as a result of this alignment will enhance our quality of life in terms of our understanding of the world around us, in terms of enhancing our conscious awareness, in terms of enhancing our connection with some sort of divinity or higher power or some sort of whatever it is that you sort of look to as your source of meaning and understanding when it comes to our presence in this reality. And so that's part of this energy too. So it's kind of a twofold energy. Yes, there can obviously be physical gifts when Jupiter and Venus are involved. Venus is very literally rules like gifts and material possessions and beauty and things that feel good and that you can touch in a sensory way. And then you have Jupiter, which is the great benefic, which is just a super generous planet, always expanding on things and bringing good fortune. And so that's, a positive energy. The other thing that's going to be happening on that day, though, that can throw us for a little bit of a loop, especially for those who have a stronger alignment in the fixed signs versus the mutable signs. If you have a lot of mutable energy, you might be feeling this galactic center activation the most. Or if you have a lot of fire energy, especially, you'll be feeling this galactic center activation the most and feeling it very positively. If you happen to have a lot of fixed energy, which would be planets in Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, you might be feeling the opposition between Mars and Uranus the most. And so what this can actually bring is a combination of that really beneficial energy, but it could come alongside some sort of shakeup, some sort of frustration, some sort of need to rebel or change something about your life. But with this enhanced awareness and this enhanced consciousness that's brought about with this Venus conjunction to Jupiter, my sense is that most people, unless you have super, super strong Uranus-Mars energy and, a weak influence of that Jupiter-Venus energy, for most people, I would say that you would be able to make really good decisions, and that the changes that you make that are built from frustrations that have been mounting for quite some time will actually serve to enhance your experience and your understanding of this reality, the meaning behind it, and your place in it. So it can give you greater meaning and deeper purpose in your life through making these changes out of frustration or disruption or dispute or whatever it is that comes about. There could be, for some people, a really intense need to just change something, or something could come out of the blue that forces you to take action as well. And so it's an interesting combination of energy, because we're going to have, on the one hand, this Venus conjunction in Jupiter, which is overwhelmingly positive, but we're also having a disruptive shake-up energy that's happening almost at the exact same time. And so for some people, it might not feel quite as nice as you would want it to with this galactic center activation. But whatever is happening during this time, whatever changes and disruptions are bubbling up to the surface, they're happening for a reason, because there's something that you need to see that might, turn the light bulb on and help you to attain a new level or a new state of conscious awareness. And so that's what's going on this week. It's kind of a big week. And so I'm going to get into the forecast for all 12 signs here. And before I do want to make a couple of quick announcements. On the 23rd of November, which is this coming Saturday, I'm doing a 4-hour webinar all about Neptune in astrology. And this is, in terms of the series with the outer planets, probably my favorite one so far, just because I have such experience with Neptune in my birth chart and by transits, and so many fun experiences to share when it comes to working, with clients, and different examples and things like that too. So, this is going to be a good one. And Neptune's kind of a hard energy to pin down. And so I'm hoping to give you guys more practical information about what you can do with this, not just floating around and, and all of that, how to ground it and actually channel it into something real, which is difficult to do with Neptune. And so the Mastering Neptune webinar is live on the 23rd. It's part of my Mastering the Outer Planet series. You can get both the individual webinar or the series at a discounted rate if you register now in advance. The price will go up after the live webinar for both of those options. And yeah, so that's what's going on there. So I hope to see you guys there. And the 23rd is also the last day to get a discounted rate on my foundational astrology course, the video course that I created. I have two different options. I have a more basic option and an option that has additional content and videos and features for those who want to go deeper. And so you can get those, the more basic, just the basics version for $20 off, and you can get the going deeper version for $50 off up until the 23rd, and then the price will be normal. And so if you want to take advantage of any of those discounts, now's the time to do it. And I hope to see you guys in that webinar. I'm really excited about it. So it'll be fun. And I'm working on some extra special stuff for you guys too that I'm hoping to release later this week after Mercury goes direct. So we'll see how that goes. All right. And then I don't know why I just put this away. I need this now. For Aries and for Aries rising, let's just jump right into it. For Aries and for Aries rising, first off, Mercury is going to be stationing to go direct in your 8th house, which is the house of debt, power struggles, control issues, joint finances through marriage, things of that nature. And so you might have been going through this period of revision, revitalizing, reorganizing your finances, especially when it comes to investments, debt, taxes, inheritance, joint finances through marriage. You might have been working through some deep-seated fears or power struggles in your life. And now's a time where when Mercury stations, you're going to get one last final push, one last final message delivered from the universe to tell you what it is that you need to clear away, or the final steps you need to take to wrap things up or re-energize or revitalize that area or review or re-edit something. So that way you can move forward with greater clarity and a much better plan and a much stronger plan moving forward. So you'll have your ducks in a row financially, and when it comes to your own internal state as well, your own psychological state. And then when we move into later this week on, so that's on Wednesday, so that's going to be really the first 3 days of the week, you're going to be feeling that Mercury station really intensely. And as we come into the weekend, you start to feel the energy of the galactic center activation, and also this Mars, Uranus opposition. And so the galactic center activation is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of, higher wisdom, higher knowledge. It's the house of religious, philosophical, and spiritual beliefs. It's your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you, your moral and ethical value systems. This is the time where a really incredible gift can come to you through an educational opportunity, through a teacher, especially a spiritual or religious figure or teacher, somebody who can disseminate wisdom through their experience on the spiritual plane. And so this is a time where something might be revealed to you in terms of your belief system or in terms of the nature of this reality that'll give you the gift of a newfound sense of perspective on life, especially for those who have your Aries sun, moon, or rising near that 28th degree. I would say anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees will be feeling this really strongly, and you'll be getting the most gifts out of this because it'll be trining your ascendant, trining your sun, or if you're listening for your moon, trining your moon. And so this information that's delivered will come straight to you, and you'll be able to use it and really integrate it into your personality, your goals, and your orientation and direction in life. And so it's a really powerful, really positive energy for Aries in particular. And it could even be that you get some sort of gift or opportunity related to travel plans or an opportunity to go abroad to experience a different culture. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the spiritual awakening or the energy of the elevated consciousness comes to you immediately. It could be through these new plans or this gift that's given to you later on. The developments that stem from it could create create a sense of awakening or a heightened sense of awareness or a new philosophy on life. And so that could be part of it as well. The opposition that's happening between Mars and Uranus is also happening in your 8th and 2nd house. And so Mercury stationed there, you felt like you have your ducks in a row, and then all of a sudden something comes out of the blue and forces you to have to change something really abruptly related to your finances. And so just expect the unexpected there and expect to have to act, maybe a little bit quickly on something. Maybe you have to jump on a new opportunity for an investment or a new financial opportunity, and it just comes out of nowhere. And even though it's positive, it's abrupt and it's chaotic, and it feels disruptive in the moment. Maybe something comes in and disrupts your finances from the outside, and you have a major expenditure that comes through that you have to purchase or spend money on. And so just kind of be prepared. If you've been doing your Mercury retrograde work, this shouldn't be as difficult because you'll have your ducks in a row and you'll be prepared for, any number of circumstances that come up for you on the financial level. All right. So for Taurus and for Taurus rising, so Mercury is stationing to go direct in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. It's the house of marriage. It's the house of partnership, just kind of in general, like business partnerships, close friendships, close one-on-one relationships, contracts and agreements. And so this has been a time where you've had to revisit old relationships, old dynamics in relationships, old conversations that maybe you had to jump back into and have new discussions and reach new agreements in relationships. And so it's been a lot of focus on kind of taking stock of your relationships and what you truly want, need, and desire in your partnerships, all types of partnerships, and then expressing that more fully, completely, and precisely moving forward so you can get what you truly desire. And so all parties involved understand fully and completely what it is that you want and what you're aiming for. And so you might get one last message that comes through. It could come through partnership. It could come through another person, the middle of this week especially, that shows you, any last energy that's left unresolved in relationships that needs to be dealt with, or any conversations that have been left, unfinished that maybe you need to move forward with moving forward. And then the Galactic Center activation is actually happening in your 8th house. That's kind of an interesting one. So you could have some sort of surprise that comes up for you, some sort of benefit or gift on a financial level that comes through an outside source, through maybe insurance money or inheritance, or your partner's income or resources, or even through an investment that you've made in the past. You could also get some sort of inspiration or heightened awareness around these types of things that allows you to, take care of something that's necessary to resolve or take care of in that area of joint finances or debt. The other thing that could be happening here is that this could just increase your intimacy with other people in partnership, or it could reveal to you something that you weren't consciously aware of when it comes to your deep-seated fears, anxieties, psychological issues that have been disempowering you and holding you back. This is a period where you can reach a heightened state of awareness to understand the truth that lies beneath this reality and utilize that for your own empowerment moving forward. So this could be a shift in perspective for you that allows you to take back control of your life and your experience much more completely. The other thing that's going to be happening is this opposition between Mars and Uranus. And so by the end of this week, you would think that you had all this Mercury retrograde stuff resolved, and that, issues involving relationships would be settled in some way, but there's going to be one last surprise. And so you might have to, really quickly reach an agreement, really abruptly end or begin a new agreement or partnership or relationship. Or you might just have some sort of argument or dispute with your partner that could be very disruptive, like you thought you renegotiated it and hashed this all out during the Mercury retrograde, and it comes back up. Or it could be something brand new, especially with Uranus and Mars, that you weren't expecting and that you weren't prepared for. And so just know that you might have to make some sort of change in your relationships, or that there could be disruption in that area that comes this weekend that requires you to immediately deal with it, but not to deal with it in a way that's reactionary or impulsive. make sure that you're responding and thinking it through, because there is this impulsivity and this like wanting to just do something right now because you feel like you need to do it in the moment and you're super angry or frustrated. That can cause problems especially if it's not something that you've thought about in the past. So just make sure that you're at least taking a breath because it will require immediate action, but that doesn't mean you have to just react. You can take at least a little bit of time to think things through. All right, and then for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So this energy with Mercury stationing is happening in your 6th house of work, health, and daily routines. And so this is an area where you've been sort of sorting things out, revisiting your routines and making sure that your routines in your sort of health arena, your nutritional routines, your workout routines, that those are suitable for you and in alignment with your goals and desires for your health and for the benefit of your body. And then also kind of going through and revisiting old patterns, old routines, old projects related to work, old dynamics within the workplace, and making changes, right? Revising things, maybe wrapping up some projects related to work that have been left unfinished. And so at the start of this week, you'll have one less opportunity or one less message that's presented to you, either through your coworkers or just, some sort of insight or information that comes to you that allows you to make the final changes that you need to make in order to have a much better, more productive, healthier routine for yourself in the future moving forward. The Galactic Center activation is actually happening in your 7th house of relationships. And so for all Geminis, this is going to bring really great benefits through partnership. And that doesn't have to be romantic partnership, but it can be, especially if that's something that is applicable to you. If you are married or in a really long-term committed partnership, you can have some sort of awakening that helps you to have a much better relationship moving forward. You can have really incredible transcendent experiences together. And especially if you are a Gemini rising with your rising sign anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees, this is a really powerful time period. You could connect really intimately with somebody who's some sort of like teacher or spiritual advisor that can help you to sort through your own beliefs and who you are and the way that you show up in the world based on those beliefs. This is a great time for some sort of adventure or to indulge in a new experience in partnership, because those experiences can help awaken you to a whole new level of consciousness that you didn't even realize was there. And it can do it in ways that are very unexpected. This is a great time to do something spiritual within a partnership, to go on some sort of spiritual retreat together or some sort of religious pilgrimage in partnership with somebody. A lot of great benefits can come from that as well. And so, that's going to be a very powerful, very positive energy for Gemini rising people. And you guys have been, you've had Jupiter in your 7th house this whole time, so that's actually been quite nice. But in terms of the astrology, you haven't had a lot of intense activations lately, especially in the positive realm. So this is, good news for you guys. And then the energy of the Uranus opposition to Mars. So you thought that you had everything all figured out and wrapped up and your ducks in a row when it comes to your habits and daily routines, and maybe that work-life balance or that work-rest balance. But something could come in, out of the blue, out of nowhere, sort of. It's going to come through this energy of like internalized rebellion that you're not expressing, that all of a sudden something comes up, especially in your work or in your health or in your daily habits, that forces you to express those frustrations or make some sort of sudden and abrupt change. And especially if this is something you've been dwelling on for a while or it's been building for a while, then this is great. Take action. But if it's something that's brand new to you and you don't know where it's coming from, at least take some time to reflect. You do have to act on it, but make sure that you're responding and not just reacting to the situation that presents itself. It could even be like disputes in the workplace or something like that. All right, and then for Cancer and for Cancer rising. So Mercury is stationing to go direct in the 5th house, which is the house of fun, pleasure, passion, play. It's the house of your hobbies, interests, the things that you love to do because you love to do them, things that you do by choice because they're enjoyable for you. And so it's been, a good Mercury retrograde for Cancers. I shared a little thing on my Instagram. It was just like a message that my friend sent to me. She had Mercury retrograding in trine with her ascendant, and so she like wanted to make a change to her appearance, and she dyed her hair with like a with like a hair color that she thought was temporary and ended up being permanent. And so that was kind of a shock to her, but she actually really liked the hair color, luckily, and that's because, Mercury was trining her ascendant. And so anyway, so you might have been making changes to your appearance and to the way that you showed up. They might not have gone exactly as you planned, but, these things can be beneficial to you. They can help you to feel better, to have more fun, to enjoy your life a little bit more. Changes to your direction or your orientation in life, changes to your relationships that you've been making, changes in romance, or maybe you've had an old flame come back in and you've experienced that quite positively. But really this is about revisiting your passions, the things that you love to do, old hobbies and interests that you were really connected to that have maybe fallen by the wayside. And so by now you should have reintegrated some of that fun, some of that joy back into your life. And this is going to give you one last chance or one last message as to what it is you need to bring back in. And so that's going to be a really positive energy. And you might think that everything is kind of settled for you, at the start of this week, and that you have your ducks in a row, but then something's going to come in at the end of the week on Sunday that might disrupt your ability to enjoy yourself or to engage in those hobbies, interests, play. It might disrupt those new or renewed romances, or it could cause disruption in the area of children if you have any. And that disruption could stem from social pressure or some sort of change in your social circle or the needs of your friendships, or maybe a new friendship coming in and shaking things up and disrupting what you thought was settled. And so you might have to kind of go back and take action on something. There could be frustrations or disputes in your relationship with, a group of people that you surround yourself with, your friends, or an organization that you're a part of that you might need to address. And so just make sure that you are responding rather than reacting. But this should be, an easier energy to deal with for Cancers than for the other signs. And so I'm not super worried about you guys for this week. And then you also have the Galactic Center activation occurring in your 6th house. So this could be some sort of intense, really powerful revelation that comes to you involving your health and the way that your daily routines impact your health, or the way that you can incorporate your philosophical, religious, and spiritual value systems into your day-to-day experience of reality, because that's something that Cancers already kind of strive to do. You strive to live your day-to-day experience with integrity. You strive to work with integrity. And this can help you to realize something that maybe you were missing as a key component to, having this experience of connecting your day-to-day reality with some sort of bigger purpose or higher meaning. This could also bring really powerful gifts through your work. You might get some sort of really incredible recognition or an opportunity for travel or for additional learning and education, especially if it has some sort of spiritual or ethical value to it. You could actually have some really incredible awakening around your health or some sort of health issue that you've been dealing with. And so this is a powerful week for everyone, but for you guys too. All right, and then for Leo and for Leo rising. So this Mercury retrograde energy is actually, or Mercury stationing to go direct energy, I should say, is happening in your 4th house of the home, family, property. And so there's a lot of intense energy actually in those areas of the chart. And even though you're going to have this really powerful galactic center activation experience, for those who have their sun, moon, or rising at the beginning, really the beginning 15 degrees of Leo, this week might be experienced in a way that's a little bit more difficult. If you have your sun, moon, or rising 25 to 30 degrees in the sign of Leo, you'll experience more of the positive energy, which is going to be that galactic center activation in your 5th house. But the start of this week in general for all Leo rising people, and Leo sun signs too, is going to have to do with revisiting, wrapping things up, getting the last messages that you need to receive when it comes to whatever it is that you've been working on, redoing, rehashing, reorienting, when it comes to your home and your place of living. And I mean, I know Leo rising people who have moved and moved somewhere temporary, even during this Mercury retrograde. And so maybe this is where you get a message or you get something really important that comes through that causes you to have to make those final changes and settle with something permanent. If you've been working on sort of rehashing old conversations with family members or restructuring the dynamic of your family in some way, now's a time where you'll have that final push, that final message that comes through, and that final opportunity to make the changes and have those important conversations that you've been needing to have. You might think at the end of this week that everything is settled because you've been working so hard on maybe reorganizing your home or sorting through your plans when it comes to an important move or an important situation with your place of living or with your family. But at the end of this week, you might get a little bit of a surprise. Something might come up really abruptly that might cause you to have to change something involving your home or your place of living. And that something could stem from your work, your career, your public reputation. It could even be that you thought you were going to spend some time at home or do some sort of family activity, and all of a sudden something crazy happens at work and you have to act really quickly, and it causes, maybe some turbulence in your home because your family's mad at you. That's a very specific example, but it could happen for some of you. But in general, there's going to be a need to take action on something involving your home and involving your home life balance and involving potentially some sort of disruption in the workplace, or the need to change something or liberate yourself from something in the workplace in order to address your needs at home. At the end of this week, also on Sunday, the Jupiter Venus conjunction with the galactic center is going to be in trine with your ascendant. If you have your ascendant at that 25 to 30 degrees in the sign of Leo, like I mentioned at the start of this little forecast here. And so this is going to bring really powerful gifts that can come through just really helping you to become more aware of your passions, your creativity, the things that you love to do because you love to do them, and how that relates to your orientation, your purpose, and the way that you show up in the world. A lot of really great gifts and benefits can come to you directly, personally, or through romantic partnership this week, and a lot of really great benefits can come to you in the area of children. If you're somebody who wants to have children, this could be a time to try because you're having this activation in your fifth house of children, especially if you have that Leo ascendant at that 25 to 30 degrees, because it's going to be impacting your body and it's going to be impacting you more personally. And so, it's something to think about. But engaging in any activities involving children can help you to see things from a different perspective, can help you to have some sort of awakening in your life that you've been needing to have, especially as it relates to your ability to experience joy or lack thereof, even. For some of you, if you've been really focused on work or on routine activities or responsibilities and feeling like you're restricted in that way. All right, and then for Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgos, this energy with Mercury stationing is happening in your third house, which is the house of communication. It's the house of vehicles, short distance travel. It's the house of early education, ideas, information, and the dissemination of information, marketing, siblings, extended family members, neighbors, your community. There's a lot that goes on in the third house. And so when Mercury retrogrades in the third house, it's a little extra retrograding when it comes to those minor frustrations involving miscommunications or travel delays and things like that, just because it's in a Mercurial house. But it's usually experienced positively, and it happens for a reason that helps further your goals moving forward. And so you've kind of had to take a step back and rethink things, maybe redo some paperwork, maybe do some sort of repairs on your vehicle or something like that, if that's the case for you. And so now's a time where you have this last chance to rethink things. You have this last chance to go back and revisit important conversations or important ideas, so that way you have your ducks in a row and your plans hashed out moving forward. It could even be having to have an important conversation with a neighbor that once and for all you're gonna talk to them about their fence line or whatever it is that you have an issue with. And it could go quite smoothly for you at the start. But there's going to be one last disruption to your mindset. And this has also been looking at your mindset and the way that impacts the way that you move through life and the way that you view this reality. And so you could have one last disruption there. You could have a very intense communication that comes in, some really intense insight, some disruption involving education, writing, traveling, or disseminating information where you thought you had everything settled and your ducks in a row, and then all of a sudden something changes rather abruptly for you this weekend. And you have to act very quickly in order to resolve this issue. If it's something that needs to be said, make sure that you're speaking responsively and not reactively, and that you're taking time to make sure that your words are more deliberate. Just because there is a chance of saying something you don't mean that's a little too harsh just because of the heat of the moment, or because you're feeling frazzled or frustrated in some way. But the other good energy that's happening at the end of this week is actually going to be this activation with Jupiter and Venus, and it's actually going to be in your 4th house of the home, family, property. You might be challenged this weekend to change something, and into next week too. This isn't just like an activation that only happens for one day. You're going to be feeling this all this week and all next week, but especially at the buildup or the peak this weekend. But this is where a lot of really great, important insights can come to you involving your family. You can become more consciously aware of the needs that you have in the area of home, family, property, what you truly desire there. Really great gifts can come to you in your home life and in your family life. Maybe there's something you've been really wanting for yourself in that area. Maybe you've been wanting a new home. Maybe you've been wanting to change something, and the opportunity presents itself and you're able to do that. Maybe you just have a really profound experience connecting with family or connecting with your roots. This could be a great time for you to connect with your ancestors and your lineage, and to have a profound change in consciousness as a result of that experience, especially for those who have your Virgo rising sign near that 28th degree, so anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees, you'll be experiencing this the most. And this activation could change not just who you are and the way that you show up in the world, but the way that you deal with relationship moving forward. And so it can be quite powerful. All right, and then for Libra and for Libra rising. So for you guys, Mercury's been retrograding in your 2nd house of finances. And so you've been probably working on revising your budget, getting your ducks in a row. There might have been some unexpected bills or expenses that came up, most likely from the past, that you had to revisit and work through. There could have been some purchases that you needed to make during this time that maybe didn't go so well. And so now's a time where you have this last chance to revisit all of this energy, to rebalance your budget, to reassess your values when it comes to your resources and the way that you create and also utilize and maybe even save your resources moving forward. And so you can get one final message that's really important in that realm at the start of this week. And at the end of this week, even though you think that things are settled and you have all your ducks in a row, there might be some sort of frustration or abrupt change that comes financially, especially in the way of an unexpected expenditure or a purchase or an investment that you feel like needs to be made immediately, or a bill that comes due and it's like, this was crazy, I didn't expect this, and you have to like pay it right away. And so just kind of be prepared. And if you have been doing the work during the Mercury retrograde, you should have at least some preparation in order to have a platform to deal with this more effectively. And then the other thing that's going to be going on, and also don't make any impulsive purchases this weekend. It's really not the time for that, especially, a lot of you have probably been waiting on making important purchases until the retrograde has been, over with, and you might feel like, okay, now's the time to take action. If it's been building for a while and it feels like you really, really have to do it right then, just make sure you take the time to contemplate and think it through and then take that action. But if you're just like impulsively like, okay, Mercury retrograde's over, I saved all this money, I'm going to go spend it on that thing, probably don't do that. Or at least take some time to consider it first. But the Galactic Center activation is happening in your 3rd house, which is the house of communication. And so you could get some sort of divine message that comes through at the end of this week and into next week. And this can help you to have a greater sense of of spiritual awareness. This can help you to understand this reality and to elevate your consciousness in some way. This could come through the form of some sort of spiritual study or opportunity for study. This could come through an important message or conversation that brings incredible gifts to you on the mental plane. This could come through some sort of travel, especially a short distance trip, or if you're going to some sort of seminar or something like that, especially related to spiritual concepts. This would be a great time for that. And this could also come through an important conversation and partnership and change your partnerships in all areas, romantic or otherwise, for the better moving forward, so they're more in alignment with your value systems and with your integrity. And so that's especially the case for Libras at the end degrees from 25 to 30 degrees. This can impact your relationships, and really great gifts can come to you through communication and relationships throughout this week and into next. All right. And then for Scorpio and Scorpio rising. So for Scorpios, this Mercury retrograde is stationing in your sign. It's stationing right on my ascendant, and I have looked back because I wanted to see what that might bring for me, and it's just never happened in an exact conjunction with my ascendant like that, almost to the exact minute. So I'll keep you guys posted on my Instagram what happens if something does happen. But anyway, Mercury stationing in your sign. And so this could be, a time where, first off, it's just been a time to kind of kick back and relax and turn inward for a lot of Scorpios. It's not been such an extroverted time, even though the sun's been in your sign. It's been more of a time of contemplation. Who are you? What are you doing here? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? How are you presenting yourself, and how are you showing up and coming across to other people? And is that in alignment with who you truly and deeply are and what you desire in that realm? How is your health? How have you been taking care of your body? What do you like or not like about your appearance or your personality or the way that other people are perceiving you or the way that you're projecting your energy? It's been more of a personal sort of introspection, especially about the way that you show up in the world. And so now's a time where you might get some clarity or some final message that comes through and is delivered to you on a personal level or on the mental plane that shows you exactly what you need to do moving forward. And it can just become like an aha moment where time stands still and it's like, okay, yeah, that's what it is. And so you can get a lot of clarity or a really important message that comes to you that helps you to finish tying up loose ends, getting your ducks in a row, and figuring things out when it comes to who you are and your identity and your place in the world. You might think that you have things settled and that you figured it all out until this weekend, where there could be a little bit of a disruption. There could be some sort of angry message that comes through. There could be disputes or arguments or disruptions that come through relationship. And so you might have to change something about the dynamic of a relationship or an important one-on-one interaction. You might need to, very quickly and abruptly change the terms or agreements of a certain contract that you've adhered to for quite some time. And so just kind of be ready for that. There could be arguments and disputes. There could be disruption in relationship. You might have thought that you had everything figured out, and then you get this sort of abrupt change coming up there. And just make sure that you're acting responsibly and not reactively, that you're taking your time to make sure that the decisions you're making, even though they have to be kind of quick, that they're the right ones and that they're not just being made out of frustration or anger. And then, you'll be fine. And then the energy with the Galactic Center activation is actually happening in your second house of resources. And so you could have a really important download or some sort of important insight that comes to you related to the way that you deal with finances and the role of material possessions and your values around material possessions in life. You could have a really powerful financial opportunity that comes to you at the end of this week. That's really, it's profound and on more than one level. You could have a conscious awakening or awakening of consciousness when it comes to money in general and the role that it plays in society and in your own life. You could have some sort of recognition that comes to you through the form of a bonus or money that comes in some sort of way. You could have an opportunity for an investment, or maybe you want to spend some money on travel or something like that, and a really incredible opportunity opportunity comes for you to have this beautiful experience. But this is really looking at your values around money and resources, and it's going to really shift the way that you deal with such things moving forward in a really powerful way. So that way you're dealing with money in a way that's much more in alignment with your moral and ethical value systems and your integrity, and you know what that looks like too, because maybe you don't know what that looks like just yet. All right, and then for Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising. So for you guys, the Mercury's been retrograding in your 12th house, so this has been more of a pulling back time for Sagittarius risings, where you've been kind of having to take time to rest, to take a break, to contemplate your experience in this reality. And that's also part of the energy of having the sun transiting through the sign of Scorpio as you prepare for your big solar reset at the time of your solar return. And for any of you who have a solar return this week, it's a big week. Not only is Mercury stationing to go direct near the time of your solar return, but you have this really incredible activation in your sign with the ruler of your sign at the galactic center. And so I talked about this really in depth in the 2-hour forecast that I gave for the Sagittarius solar return. And if you want to check that out, you can do so down in the link in the description below. But in short and in general for Sagittarius, this could be a profound time of awakening where really incredible gifts are given to you from the universe. Those gifts can come in the form of realizations of enhanced awareness, enhanced sensitivities, enhanced states of consciousness. This could come, and this would come to you quite naturally. It wouldn't be something that you would need to really activate or enhance. It's just something that would be delivered to you. It's like a gift. This could be a year where you reach a newfound understanding of who you are, what your purpose is, how you're showing up in the world, and how that relates to the grand scheme of things, and the way that you derive meaning from this experience. For Sagittarius in particular, this could be a really profound sort of spiritual awakening, or a time where you connect with a teacher or some source of information that changes your life and your perspective on reality, and changes the way that you choose to show up in the world. So it's more in alignment with this new elevated consciousness. Gifts can come to you personally, especially if you are anyone who has Sagittarius rising from 28 to 30 degrees. This is a time where you might be recognized for something. This is a time where people might be more responsive to you in a positive way, where you might be more well received when it comes to anything that you want to initiate and move forward with. And so this could be a really incredible energy for you. The only sort of downside to this weekend is the disruptive energy with Uranus in opposition to Mars in your 12th house, which is the house of hidden enemies, and the 6th house, which is the house of your work, your daily routines, coworkers. This is also hospitals and then illness or health. And so there could be something that you have to deal with involving hospitals, involving health, involving illness, or something that causes you to have to change something when it comes to your daily habits and routines. Or there could be some sort of disruption, somebody working against you behind the scenes in the workplace, or that in a way that affects you in the workplace. Or this could just be you feeling really frustrated with your current day-to-day reality and your work experience, and wanting to really change something rather abruptly. If that's the case and it's been building, you've been contemplating it for quite some time, this might be a time where you really need to take hold of an opportunity and take action. If not, then you might want to kind of take stock of whether you're doing so impulsively and reactionary, or if this is something that, is right for you. There's an action that needs to be taken and a change that needs to be made, but just like to what degree and what type of change? That's really the question here. So that's going to be the energy for this week for Sagittarius. This is a really powerful week for the end degree Sagittarius people, and also the beginning degree Sagittarius people who are having their solar returns this week. So, it's a really nice, really pleasant energy. Also, you might just feel like being more indulgent this week, and that's okay. You'll have the opportunity to do so, and so if that's part of your experience and you want to get away from the frazzled energy of your day-to-day life, then that can be part of it too, for a lot of Sagittarius people. Okay, so then for Capricorn and Capricorn rising, Mercury stationing to go direct in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, groups that you surround yourself with by choice. And so you've probably been revisiting some old friendships and old connections, old group orientations. You might have had some miscommunications and difficulties in connecting with the group or connecting with your friends. But this would have been a really great time to reconnect with people that you really care about and that you like to spend time with, that maybe you haven't been connecting with quite so much because of this, that, and the other thing. Maybe because you have so much Saturn and Pluto energy and the eclipses in your first house, you've been feeling this weight of responsibility and you haven't been able to connect with your group. And so this could have been a really great time for you to revisit that energy and to revisit old relationships and to renew and revitalize old energy in relationships, restructure your relationships, to revisit conversations that need to be rehashed. And so all of that, has been the case. And so this is one final chance where you could get some sort of important message about a group or through your friends that you need to pay attention to in order to finish what is left to be resolved in those areas of relationship, partnership, and group orientation. The energy of the galactic center activation is actually going to be occurring in your 12th house, which is that house of spirituality. And so for you, this is going to be a more subtle energy unless you have your Capricorn rising or sun sign at the first degree in Capricorn, in which case it'll be a little bit more profound. It'll have to do with merging the energy of the spiritual with the physical. But for most of you, this will be more in your 12th house, and this will be more of an internalized energy, an energy that happens more subconsciously. This could be really profound information that awakens your consciousness, that comes through meditation, that comes through spiritual seeking, that comes through dreams. I like the energy of the 12th house being related to dreams. For those who have access to that energy and who can remember their dreams, this is a time where some sort of important message can come through some sort of symbolism or some sort of vision, or even on a very literal scale that changes or alters your perception of reality in a way that's quite profound. And so this is a time to pay attention to that. Write down your dreams. Spend time in meditation this weekend, and something might come to you that's really important. And if you do have the opportunity to go on some sort of spiritual pilgrimage or retreat, this would be a great time for that. And a lot of really incredible benefits can come to you through doing something like that, that you might not even realize at the time when you embark on that journey. And then the disruption. So you might think you have everything settled and you've been having a nice time reconnecting with your friends and all of that. And then something comes in to sort of shake that up and cause some sort of frustration with your social circle, or with maybe your inability to connect with joy and do the things that you're passionate about. You'll be feeling this more positively than the other signs. Most of the other signs will, because Uranus will be in trine with your ascendant, especially again if you have your Capricorn rising within the first 5 degrees. Not only do you have that galactic center activation in a conjunction with your ascendant, but you have Uranus trining your ascendant. And so this could cause you to make a really positive change that helps you to have more excitement and more joy in your everyday experience. And so it could be an abrupt change. It could come up very suddenly, but you can harness that energy a lot more easily, and it won't feel so difficult for Capricorns at least. All right, and then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius rising, this energy with Mercury stationing could feel a little bit more challenging. You do have, the fixed energy, and we talked at the start of this video when I did my rundown of the general astrology about the fixed signs maybe having a little bit more of a tricky time in dealing with all of this. And so, if you have your Aquarius rising sign within the first 15 degrees, you're going to have this Uranus-Mars square within the first 0 to 5 degrees, and then at 7 or 8 to 15 degrees, I would say 5 to 15 degrees, you're going to have Mercury stationing direct and square with your ascendant. And so this could cause it could cause you to have to kind of go back and revisit something when it comes to your work or your relationship with people in positions of power and authority. Maybe there's an important conversation that you need to revisit that you don't really want to, but it comes up and it needs to be addressed. This could be you having to go back and redo something that you thought that you had resolved when it comes to an important work-related project or an important conversation at work or an important idea that you had at work. And this could be like an extra retrograde time period at the start of this week when it comes to your work in general and maybe mishaps, miscommunications, and difficulties in the workplace. So you want to make sure that you're very clear. And this has been a time of you really going back and reevaluating what you truly want, need, and desire when it comes to your work experience. And maybe this is the time where you get an opportunity to communicate that. And it might not feel easy, but it's going to be important that you do so. You might think that you have everything settled at the start of this week and that you've gotten all your ducks in a row and that you've revisited everything and the challenges have been faced, but there could be some sort of abrupt change that comes, or the need for an abrupt change or some sort of dispute or disruption that comes at the end of this week into the weekend and maybe even at the start of next week that causes you to have to change something rather abruptly. That could stem from, maybe an argument or a dispute at work or in the home that causes you to have to take a good hard look at your work-life balance and whether or not you have the freedom and independence to live the life that you want to live in your home environment and after work. And so you might have to make an abrupt change if it's something that you've been really contemplating and that's been building for quite some time and the opportunity arises. It could be challenging and disruptive, but it's going to be something that's necessary and it will be liberating as an overall end result. If it's something that you just impulsively decided, like, I don't want to do this anymore, I hate my boss, this sucks, and then you just quit on the fly, that might be a little bit more difficult. So you want to just kind of take stock of whether you're being reactionary and impulsive or whether this is something that's a frustration that's been building that really needs to be released. All right, and then for Pisces and for Pisces rising. Pisces. So for you guys, I have to go back actually. Sorry, Pisces, not yet. Aquarius, you don't just have disruption in your workplace, you have the Galactic Center activation. How did I forget that? So for the activation for the Galactic Center, this is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, people that you surround yourself with by choice. And so this is a really incredible time where really great benefits can come through group interaction, especially if you engage in some sort of spiritual group interaction, like maybe you join some sort of club or group that gets together to discuss like philosophy or for religious study, or maybe like a drum circle or something like that. You could have a very a consciousness shifting experience by connecting to groups, and especially connecting to groups that are in alignment with your values and your belief systems, or even if they're completely outside of your normal values and belief systems, they can shift your perception of reality and shift your consciousness in a way that that really changes your framework for this experience. And this is also going to be sort of a conscious awakening in terms of your place when it comes to all of humanity. So how do you relate to everyone else on this planet? What's your place in society? And how can you make an impact that's positive? This could also just be really great benefits coming through like new group interactions or new people, new friends coming into your life that can change your life for the better. This could be social reward and recognition for hard work that you've been putting in, especially with all this Mercury retrograde energy in your 10th house of career. And if you do have your ascendant near that 28th degree in the sign of Aquarius, so 25 to 30 degrees, this is actually going to be trining your descendant. And so this could actually bring a really profound consciousness altering experience when it comes to important relationships in your life, or maybe even a new relationship that shows up in a way that's really strong and really profound for you. All right, and now Pisces. So for Pisces and for Pisces rising, Mercury's been retrograding in your 9th house, which is the house of foreign travel. It's the house of higher wisdom. It's the house of where you derive meaning for this experience based on the context of your belief systems, your religious and spiritual value systems. And so this could be a time where you've been rethinking and reevaluating the way that you derive meaning from this reality, the way that you connect from God, the universe, something higher than you. This could be you having had to revisit old educational pursuits or old curriculum that you haven't looked at for quite some time, or old books, especially spiritual or philosophical texts that you haven't visited and you had to revisit, or you had to revisit some sort of educational pursuit or something like that. So whatever the case is for you, this is the final chance to go back, wrap things up, revisit things, and get the messages that you need to get in order to reintegrate that knowledge into your experience moving forward. You might think that you have it all figured out and that your ducks are in a row in this area. And this is actually going to be a positive experience for a lot of Pisces people. So you might think that maybe you had to rethink some travel or educational plans, and you think that you have it all figured out, and then, in the weekend you get this really incredible new opportunity that comes to you and causes you to have to change things rather abruptly. And yes, it'll be disruptive, but it'll be liberating and exciting and experienced in that way as a result. Or you might get some new information that causes you to have to change something very quickly, or a really important message that's exciting but disruptive that causes you to have to change direction or change course in some way. And so that can come through, into the weekend. And Pisces is another sign that has good energy there. And then the activation of the Galactic Center is going to be happening in your 10th house of career and public reputation. And so this is going to be the strongest for those who have their midheaven near the 28th degree, so 25 to 30 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius, and those who have their rising sign from 25 to 30 degrees in the sign of Pisces. You'll be feeling this really intensely. And so you could have some sort of awakening of consciousness when it comes to the way that you put your energy out into the world, when it comes to important work-related projects, or when it comes to your career goals and plans and how that relates to the big picture. You could have some really incredible benefits that come to you through your work or through work that you've done in the past, or some really incredible opportunities that come to you as a gift from somebody in a position of power, or through the work that you're doing out in the world. And so pay attention to those opportunities, because those can be life-changing, especially for those who have that 25 to 30 degree Pisces rising. It can change your orientation in life. It can change who you are and the way that you go about, moving through this reality. It can change your relationships. It can change your family life. And so, this could be a major turning point where a really incredible opportunity comes that elevates your experience in some way, or elevates your awareness of the way that you are going through your life, and the way that you are navigating your relationships, and the way that you're navigating your work. And so if you wanted to start something with your work, or maybe even change career paths or something like that, opportunities can come to you. And even if it doesn't turn into this big life-changing profound thing right away, the end results of it can be something along those lines. So definitely harness this if you can. Everyone should harness this if you can, because it's a really great energy. And so that is my forecast, you guys, for all 12 signs. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel so you never miss an astrology update. Like the video, share it with your friends too if you feel like they can benefit from this insight. And follow me on Instagram if you want more astrology insights and inspiration and information throughout the week, because I post a lot of little updates and things throughout the week there. And thank you guys. I hope to see some of you in my Neptune webinar next weekend. And if not, I'll see you next week. Well, I'll see you next weekend anyway, because I'll see you here. All right. Bye, everyone.